touch it, right?
Bipod or
Yeah.
rifle?
Full rifle's got to be supported by the tank.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? Billy from Mad Max again, and today we're going to do this a little different. I shot my first PRS match about a week ago, and I want to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about my expectations going in, the reality of the fact of the match afterwards, some stuff I would have liked to know more of prior to going in, and then some closing thoughts and tips and stuff if you plan on getting into it as well. Just a little background on my long-range shooting experience. I took a long-range precision class a couple years ago, shot out to 1,000 yards. It was a 2-day course. I shot about 200 rounds, and then that got the itch going. Then from there, I did a lot of I got into hand loading, dove deep into load development for all sorts of cartridges. Started mainly with 308, and then got to where I am now with 6mm by 47 Lapua, 6.5 by 47 Lapua, 6 Creedmoor, so on. But since that 1,000-yard class, I haven't really shot past 750 at all. I do get to shoot out to 750 quite a bit, but without any real training. I have shot with a couple of guys that are friends of mine that have extensive training, and they've given me some tips and tricks along the way, but that's less PRS style, more like combat sniper stuff, I guess. But that's just a little background on my shooting experience. Haven't been into it that long, but this is where I wanted to get into, is doing PRS. But before we dive balls deep and everything, some stuff I'm going to be talking about in the future, just to get that out of the way now. Got myself a Burris XTR 1-8 on the Stormtrooper here on a 193 mount. Going to be talking about that. The basis of that one's going to be first focal plane versus second focal plane, why you might want to do of each. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, but we're going to do a separate video on that where we dive real hard into it. This is something I'm going to talk about a little later. This is a Maven RS5. It's not available yet. It drops in May, but I'm working in partnership with Target Tamers. They're like a review website. They want to get into the YouTubes and social media thing, so they sent this out to me to do a video for them. So this video will not be, on the Maven specifically, will not be on my channel, but I will be using this as a discussion point for first focal plane versus second focal plane. And then we'll discuss this during this video a little bit, but my new custom build that will be my PRS gun moving forward. So let's get into my expectations going into this. I didn't really have any. Everyone I talked to that had no idea what a PRS match was would be like, oh, screw that, you should be going in there with think you're going to win it. You got to always have the mentality, but I knew better than that. I didn't really know much about, I knew what PRS was, but I didn't understand the types of positioning and everything that you would go through. All I knew about was stuff that I watched on YouTube, and there really isn't a whole lot of stuff on YouTube, actual PRS matches, except for the NRL, which they aren't the same, but they're similar. But what I've noticed from NRL, it's a lot more natural positions like rock clusters and dirt mounds and trees and such. Not as much as what we shot in PRS, but we'll get into that in the reality section. I didn't even know how far we were going to be shooting. I honestly thought it was going to be no further than 600 yards, but then the course of fire was sent out to everybody that was shooting in the competition, and it was out to 1,000 yards. The closest targets, I think, was a Know Your Limits target. That was about 253. But again, that doesn't really matter. It was out to 1,000 yards, so this whole thing to me was going to be a learning experience. I will say I did it kind of, because it's a regional match, I did think that there was going to be a bunch of quote-unquote FUDs and hillbillies in there with their hunting rifles just out there to have a good weekend shoot. That wasn't really the case. And then I didn't even really know what gear to bring. I went in there with my little bog saddle, which is a budget tripod that really just has a saddle, and nobody there used a saddle at all. Everyone used a flat top, and you just drop a bag on top of it. Like, I didn't know for sure if like my gun was gonna be like in class with other people there, but again, to bring this all to a close circle, I didn't really have any expectations going in. This was just me going full Bill O'Reilly and fuck it, we're doing it live. And yeah, so was my expectations going in. It was just figure it out as we go along, play it by ear.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
Let's talk about the reality of the fact. 90% of the shooters there were great guys, super nice, super helping, just willing to help you in any way. You asked them a question, they would answer for you. If you needed any gear, they had it for you. And tips and tricks along the way. They'd share like their experiences. I was one of in my squad, I was like one of 2 guys that was the first time shooting a PRS match, but the other guy, he was a sponsored F-class shooter, so he had a pretty good experience in long-range shooting to begin with. In general, you could show up with your gun and your ammo, and you could shoot. People will give you bags and everything. I went in just bringing this bag right here. I don't even know what it's called. It's a Weebad. It's called a fortune cookie. It's got a little like friction-bearing surface where you could throw it on something, or you could use like this to throw the rifle in there. But this is the only bag I had going in, and while Game Changer is another big one that most people are using, but this is what I was using as a fortune cookie. There was 8 stages, and there was multiple positions at each stage, and I will say there was only one stage in the prone. Other than a little bit of tripod shooting that I did a month or 2 ago, all my precision shooting's been from the prone. So that was kind of a culture shock to me. Getting stable on other positions was not easy. The gun I was using is this, my 6.5 by 47 Lapua. I did a video on this a while back. I got a Mark 5 5-25 by Leupold with the TMR reticle. I got myself an Atlas bipod up front and no muzzle brake. That became an issue for me because I couldn't stay on target worth the shit. Anything out at distance, just staying on target, I was super off balance. This doesn't have the heaviest barrel, so I didn't have any extra weights up front. Again, this is all stuff that I just had no idea about up front, but if I were to shoot this rifle again, which I'm not going to be for these matches, my other gun should be done, like the load development should be done by then. I just wasn't readily equipped for this, and I don't want to make it seem like if I had better gear and everything, I would have shot lights out and won the match. That's not even close to the case, but I would have done a little bit better in my eyes because follow-up shots is huge, and when you're shooting out to 700 and whatever yards and you come off target and you're on 16 magnification, you got to dial back off, find the target and come back on, and it kills time. You got between 90 and 180 seconds per stage, anywhere from 8 to 12 shots is being taken, so time is money and you just got to be quick. Essentially what I think about this, if you have an ego and this is your first time shooting and like, oh, I went to sniper school, or I shoot out to 1,000 all the time. Unless you've shot this style before, like under pressure, this is going to be an ego blaster, so be ready for that. The targets, like I said before, were anywhere from like 250 to 1,000, and typically 1 to 2 MOA targets. Some were a little bit bigger, there was a half MOA target on the Know Your Limits thing, so it was like just a 1-inch little plate on a swinger. Like I said in the beginning, there was 90% awesome people, but there was a small percentage of just dickheads floating around. Super, like, they've been doing it for a while, and they let you know they've been doing it for a while, and they were the best around, and they didn't trust people because he said he shot 8 of 8, but I only shot 7 of 8. How could that be? And I'm the best, and it's just, I don't understand how you could do something like this and let your ego take over when this is supposed to be like a fun recreational thing, but I guess that kind of goes with the whole gun community right now because it's toxic as fuck. Let's get back on track. What I wish I knew prior to going in is positional shooting would be the main thing for me. I just really wish I got off my belly some more, and that's what I'm going to be doing. I built a PRS barricade. I'm going to be doing the craft challenge. If you don't know what that is, look it up, and then follow him on Instagram. I think it's Gun Around the Sun, but the craft challenge is really humbling, and will help you work on a lot when it comes to positional shooting. Like I said before, the muzzle brake is huge. We'll talk about the weapon, my gun that I'm going to be using moving forward. But shooting that compared to my 6.5x47 is night and day. There's almost no recoil at all. This isn't something that mattered to me because I was using a first focal plane scope, but second focal plane scope, you're going to be hurting unless you plan on shooting a full magnification all the time, and at that point it's not that good of an idea because you're going to be searching for the targets a lot, and then glass clarity isn't always the best at top magnification. So you're going to be shooting, like I was shooting probably at like 16-ish, 16 to 20 at 25 the whole time. If you're holding for wind or you're holding over for something, your second focal plane is going to be useless unless you like know that thing inside and out. But that just is a huge drawback. Dope. If you don't know your dope, you're fucked. I, prior to this, didn't, the ammo I was shooting, I didn't confirm my dope. I didn't true it up or anything. I shot at 100 yards, shot a couple rounds, got average velocity, and threw in a ballistic calculator and came out there, and everything was just an educated guess at that point. True your dope, or else you're going to have a bad time. But as the day went on, I gradually got my dope trued, but it got hotter throughout the day, so muzzle velocity went way up. So it was kind of a shit show when it came to my dope, but if I had good dope going in, I probably would have shot a little bit better because there was a string of targets where I was about 4 inches high on every one and I was hitting the crossbar on them, and that would have gave me a little bit of extra points there. If you're hand loading, your ammo doesn't have to be bench rest quality. It has to be good, but you don't have to get down to like the 100th of a kernel or the 100th of a grain and like kernel picking and all that stuff. As long as you have single digit SDs, you're gonna be good to go. It doesn't have to be a 4. It doesn't have to be a 5. If you run in like anything below a 10, your ammo's, you're probably gonna be good to go. If you don't know wind, watch a lot of videos on it. You gotta learn how to read mirage, but as the day starts going, there's gonna be dust flying, and you gotta understand that you're not calling the wind at your position, and you're not calling your wind at the target. You gotta call the wind in between. So there was a couple targets that we would have a crosswind right to left, and then halfway through it would change to left to right. So you'd hold dead nuts and you'd be good to go. But that's really range dependent, but take that for what it's worth. Basically, your gear's not gonna make or break you, but it will help you a lot. Like, I got this little pump pillow here. That'd be good for staying stable. You keep it under your arm and you can pump it in the back or whatever. But these are huge. Game changer might be something I look into in the future. And then having a good muzzle brake. This is an Area 419 Hellraiser, I think. But it's Area 419, the typical muzzle brake that everyone's using these days. I got myself this big ass Bartlein barrel that's heavy as shit. And this gun does not recoil at all. This is a 6mm by 47 Lapua. I understand that hand loading right now is out of the picture for a lot of people just due to scarcity. So I wouldn't obviously go with a cartridge like this. Shoot your 6 Creedmoor, your 6.5 Creedmoor if you're looking for factory ammo, and you'll be good to go. Even 6BR. But I understand people have a lot of feeding issues with this. But this sits in a Graybow stock, and it's a Remington 700 action. This is my first like PRS gun that I like picked everything out on. I will eventually go to a custom action, but not for my first year in the game. Run in AICS mags, and then a couple not Under Armour, Magpul mags, and up top here it's topped in Arkin optics, SH4 Gen 3 or Gen 2. I'm sorry. Gonna be doing a full video on this once I shoot a match with it and really get some rounds down range. But right now I'm sitting at about 150 rounds down this barrel. I would say it's broken in. I'm still doing some load development. But closing thoughts and some tips going in. check your ego at the door. You'll be good to go. Ask as many questions as you could think of. Practice positional shooting would be huge. The craft challenge, like I was talking about before, that is very humbling. It's just look it up. I don't want to go too far into it. If you go in with a good bag, a solid rifle with a bipod, a muzzle brake, a first focal plane scope, anything above 16 magnification, your 25 would be ideal. 35, you can get that good glass clarity in the mid sections, but first focal plane and some solid ammo, you're gonna have a blast out there, and you're gonna learn a whole lot. Everything else would be somebody else is gonna have. You can borrow it, and you'll be good to go. Have an open mind. You might have a certain way of doing something that you think is a holy grail, but somebody else that's been doing this for a long time, they might be able to school you on something. But at the same time, sometimes it takes an outsider to come up with an idea of how to do something better than the people that have been doing it the same way for forever and sit in an echo chamber. And my final tip is, don't forget your chamber flag. I made that mistake and I look like a buffoon out there. Oldest rule in the book, I broke it. So thanks for watching, guys. You made it this far. You might want to check out my Patreon. These videos always get released early and I get some behind the scenes stuff. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of videotaping at these PRS matches because I just don't want to be out there with the camera. I want to focus on shooting, getting better, and becoming a better marksman myself. But if I do get any footage, it will be on my Patreon and probably not on YouTube. And I just always have a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Once the website and everything is up, good to go, and I got more merch, it'll be available to Patreon first. And if you decide to pledge to Patreon, I'll send you a sticker. So pledge on there, hit me up, and we'll talk, and I'll get you a sticker 2 or 5 sent out. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned something, because I know from shooting this match, I learned a shit ton. And I will be looking forward to talking about my second match. Next video I do is going to be talking about first focal plane versus second focal plane, why you're going to want one of each to do each, what each is better for, and so on. And if you liked it, hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, drop some comments, questions, suggestions below. If you guys have shot PRS matches, let me know what you think. I didn't talk about it in the beginning, but I was in the bottom 10%. Take that for what it's worth. I want to get better. I want to get up in like the 50th percentile. As you might expect if you've seen my videos before. If you didn't like this video, eat a dick. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.